Okay, we are back. We're looking at review 1 for stats. We're on page 5, and the problem is actually continued from 23. It says find the mean, median, mode, range, standard deviation for the data given. I left this up on the board because it'll help with we already found the median rather. So let's take a look at 23. The mean, you add them all together and divide by 30. So if you added them all up, you'd get 1,103. You divide it by 30 and 36.76 repeating. We'll round to hundredths and call it 36.77. Okay? The median, we already found, that's the Q2, that's the quartile, so that's 34.5. That's putting all the data in order and finding the exact middle. The mode is the one that occurs most times. So when you look at this data, we got 32 that happened 3 times, but also, oh, is that it? Just 32? Nope, 34 also happened 3 times. So we have 2 modes. We have 32, and we have the mode also equals 34. All right, bimodal. So it's the most repeated number, but since it was a tie for first, we divided. All right, now on the work, I showed you like the longhand of it to subtract each one from the mean, and then square it, and then add them up, and then now because this one is given as a population, we divide by n, and then we take the square root of it. I want you to just use Excel. Like on the test, I don't expect to see any work. I expect you to use Excel. And so the standard deviation is going to be, if you did it by hand, it would have worked out to be 2,549.367 divided by 30. We divide by n instead of n minus 1 because it's a population. If it's a sample, then we divide by n minus 1. That would have been 29. But the standard deviation of the population, you take the square root of that number. And so that ends up being 9.218, 9.22. Hundredths place, okay? And don't worry on the test, if you have to round, I'll tell you round to hundredths or round to tenths. All right? Find the IQR for 24. So again, the IQR is just this minus this, the Q3 minus Q1. So for number 24, we just do 46 minus 30 and get 16. So the interquartile range, the IQR is 16. What would be the percentile if I gave you a value 32.5? So the percentile, to find the percentile, we want to count up how many pieces of data are below it. You add 0.5 to that number, and then you divide by how many there are, and then multiply by 100. So here, that's got some steps. So let's erase this. But we're keeping that stem and leaf plot. That's handy to have around here for number 25. So the percentile that they gave us, I'll mark it in green, is 32.5. So 32.5 would happen right there. That would be my 32.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces of data are lower than 32.5. So to calculate the percentile, we would just say 11 plus 0.5. You always use 0.5. That's your constant. So however many it beat plus 0.5 divided by the total amount of pieces of data there are. this case, they're 30. So 11.5 divided by 30. We end up with a decimal, right? 0.383 repeating. It's going on forever. And then make it into a percentile. So multiply by 100. So 38.33 third. 38.33rd percentile. Okay. All right, let's look at page 6. So page 6, number 26, it says find the z-score for 32.5 given the data. So we're going to call back to this stuff. To find the z-score, I need the standard deviation, which is 9.22. I need the mean, which is 36.77. So that was how we found the percentile. I'm going to erase that now. And we'll do the work for 26. Right here. So we have z is equal to the number given, 32.5, minus the mean of the data, 36.77, divided by the 9.218. Oh, we'll just call it 9.22. And we get negative 0.463. So when you're doing that on your calculator, make sure you do 32.5 minus 36.77, hit enter, and get that negative value, and then hit divide 9.22, and then hit enter again. And so we end up with a z-score. So it is, which makes sense. Look, this was the median, and the mean was 37. So right around here, 37. This is below the mean, so it makes sense that it would have a negative z-score. The mean on a standard normal, which we know this isn't exactly normal, but it would be a negative z-score because it's below average. 32.5 is below the average of around 37. Okay? Then 27, they did a survey for travel. 146 people out of 1,000 said they do personal business. 330 said friends and relatives. 225 work. 299 leisure. And then make a pie chart. And so this one we want to figure out the degree. So we don't need any of this data anymore. We're going to use the travel data for the last two problems. All right, so here we go with 27. Again, you might want to have the sheet printed out, the formula sheet printed out. I've got it posted on Blackboard right underneath tests. It says like formula sheets. But instead of having it on the computer, you might want to have like a printed out version, or take notes on your review, because you get to use open notes, and put the actual equations, formulas rather, that you're going to use for each one, like just z-score. There aren't a lot on this test, but z-score would be one. All right, so 27. Let's see, for personal business, we've got 146 divided by 1,000. So that I made this number super easy, 1,000. So that makes it about 14%, 0.146. And we're going to take that times 360, the 360 degrees, to see how big a piece of pie that's going to be. So that's going to be 52.56 degrees. All right. For visits, that's 330 divided by 1,000. So that's 0.33 times 360. And that gives you 118.8 degrees. All right. Then we have work, 225 divided by 1,000, which is 0.225, about 23%. 360, and that's 81 degrees. And then we have leisure, which is almost 30%, right? 0.299 times 360. And so that's 107.64 degrees. All right. And so now on the construct here, you would likely have like Excel make you a pie chart or something. But if we had to wing it here, this would be travel. So make sure there's a title. We'll make a circle. And so now we want to get those, you know, the biggest pie. Do the biggest and the smallest. Those you should be able to pick out. Although these are pretty close. This is 33% and this is 30%. So this is the biggest piece of pie. The 330, that is going to be leisure. We'll put that here. And so if it was straight across, it'd be 180. It's not straight across. I think it's a little more than that though too. 90. We'll say here. Okay. So that's leisure. And if you're going to put anything in there, you put the 33%. That was the 0.33, so 33% is leisure. All right, on mine you can't really tell, but that's the piece. I have it the same as the key. Leisure is right there. Then I would do the second biggest piece next. That's 107, so that's just over 90. You figure 90 makes exactly this kind of angle. So we'll make it, we won't go 90, we'll just go a little more than 90. Hopefully it looks a little smaller than that. And that's visits. And that's 30%. And then the tiniest piece of pie should be personal. That's 15%. And then the second tiniest is work. That's 22%. Okay. All right. Then the last page, page 7, they want you to make a bar chart with all this same stuff. So a bar chart is different than our histogram in that it is not contiguous, and this would be categorical data. So these should be disconnected bars. I just went in the order it gave. You could put it in any order you want. Personal, we have friends, we got work, and we got leisure. All right, that's reason. This is travel. So again, titles, labels. And going up the side here, I went by 50s on that. That's the, I wrote it as travelers. You could say frequency if you wanted to. That's fine. It's people if you wanted to. There's a lot of different labels for that one. That's right. So I'm just going to go by hundreds here. 100, 200, 300. And we go up to 330, so we'll go up to 400 up there, but it's not going to be here. All right, so personal is 146, so just about 50. All right, friends, 330. $225 for work. And and to almost 300, 299 for the year. Okay. And then the last two, 29 and 30. 29, again, you would do that on Excel. Type that in to, Excel. Put them right next to each other. Highlight the columns. I made a whole video on how to make a, line graph on Excel. So watch that video over. You go to Insert, Scatter Plot, and it'll give you the dots. And then again, make sure to label. We have accidents. We have fatals. And this is wet bikes. Okay. And then 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. And 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. All right. Oh, and then number 30, it says, hey, does it look like there's a trend? Does it look like there's a trend? And it does. It looks like a line. It looks linear. So there is a positive, linear relationship. Positive linear relationship. And it could be negative linear if it went down. If there was a bunch of dots that looked like that, that would be a negative linear relationship. And if it just looked like a bunch of dots that got thrown up against the wall, that would be no relationship. All right. Okay, that is the review. Make sure that you study the review before you launch the test. The test, just like the review, different numbers. Don't put any of the same numbers down. Good luck.